For the second one, and then we'll come back and say,
And your gavel, so I have to...
Are we being recorded?
yeah.
Pardon
Now
me?
we are.
And they didn't pay attention.
Of course.
I have to put this on my back.
Notice of this meeting was advertised in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act. Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This meeting is now called to order. I'm sorry, roll call.
Mrs. Trueblood?
Present.
Mrs. Denny? Present. Mr. Cathers?
Present.
Ms. Jackson? Present. Mr. Allen?
Present. This meeting is now called to order. Closed session resolution number 205-2015 authorizes council to go into closed session. Council, solicitor, administration, are there any items for a closed session?
Mr. Council President, we don't have any matters for closed session.
Thank you.
I also do not have any matters for closed session.
Okay, hearing none. Before we move on, I'd just like to mention that on the agenda, ordinance number 6-2015 will be removed this evening and put on the next meeting, which is October 7th. And that's being removed because we like to advertise that council is voting.
Dave, do we need a motion to table that, or is it still technically on the agenda? Or just...
Yeah, I think if it's technically on the agenda, I guess maybe the proper thing to do would be to table it and carry it till the October 7th, is that the date?
Yes.
Yeah, so motion to table it and carry it for October 7, with the clerk then publishing the fact that the council will be voting upon the ordinance on October 7th.
Okay.
Jason, did you just say you had to advertise it? I'm sorry.
We will be advertising that council will be voting on it, which is why we're tabling it tonight.
Okay.
So is there a motion to table ordinance number 6-2015, an ordinance of the Township of Pemberton amending Chapter 41 of the Code of the Township of Pemberton entitled Police Department? Is there a motion?
I motion to table it to October 7th, ordinance number 62015.
Is there a second?
Second.
Amy, please poll the council.
Ms. Trueblood?
Yes.
Mr. Cathers?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
Ms. Denny?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes. Other resolutions. Ordinance number 20... I'm sorry?
Resolution.
Other...
Sorry.
Resolution number 206-2015, recognition of dedication of public service by Kenneth Volk. Whereas Kenneth Volk has served with distinction in the Pemberton Township Police Department for over 25 years, and whereas Kenneth Volk during his tenure with Pemberton Township has given of his time and knowledge in service to the residents of the Township of Pemberton. Now therefore be it resolved by the Township Council of the Township of Pemberton, assembled in public session on this 16th day of September 2015, that the Township Council does hereby commend Kenneth Volk for his contributions and dedicated service to the Township of Pemberton. Be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution shall be presented to Kenneth Volk on behalf of the Township Council. Is there a motion to approve resolution number 206-2015.
Motion to approve resolution.
Second motion.
206. 206.
Yeah, 206, I'm sorry.
Is there a second?
Second.
Amy, please poll the council.
Mrs. Stinney?
Yes.
Mr. Cathers?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
Ms. Trueblood?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes. Mr. Rowe? On behalf of the Pemberton Township Town Council, I'd like to thank you for your leadership, for your service, your dedication to the township. The township thinks very highly of the police department, and we thank you for being a member. Thank you. If anyone else
Thank you.
would like to acknowledge Mr. Rowe?
I would, Council President.
I'll see you at the high school, Ken.
But I just want to thank you.
I'll remember what you said.
I want to thank you for every single year that you put in this township, the love that you have given our residents, the sleepless nights that you've had, and I know you've had very many. I want to say thank you very, very much for all that you have done, and wish you much, much blessings as you travel with your family and your endeavors to find another job. Probably not as equal as this one has been, but just something to keep you busy from the honeymoon, okay? Thank you for your years. Thank you so much.
Mr. Volk, if you'd like to say something. 25 years ago, we grew up there. So, I know that. Hard. I love working with the people in the town. You guys were amazing. I grew up here also. I'll miss the guys and girls that I work with. And something that I didn't realize until I get up here how I feel. But I think I know most of the people up here. I can't say how I know them. I grew up here, worked for 25 years. I think I've been to almost everybody's house.
Thank you.
A couple times. All right?
Thank you.
But thank you, everybody. I appreciate it. Good luck to everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is he crying?
Oh.
Kenny?
That's so
He's proud.
proud son.
Yep.
Awesome.
That's wonderful.
I said I wasn't going to cry.
Public comments on agenda items only.
Oh, my God.
Mr. Tam?
Thank you.
Proud of this dad. That's beautiful.
Uh,
I will cry.
On 196 resolution.
Number
Wait,
196.
that's the wrong one. Oh, sorry, got the wrong one.
No.
The one pertaining to water. For the
well?
engineers to do a $90,000 contract with the engineer. Could you tell me what that's about?
I believe you're 207-2015. That's a contract with Adams, Raymond, and Hagan, which is our township engineer for the radium removal at well number 11, which is the well over by the Stack House on Trenton Road.
What is it? Do you have a copy of it by any chance?
A copy of the resolution?
Contract.
No. Yes. Actually, yes, we do. We have a copy of the bid.
There was a bidding process?
If I may, Mr. Council President, there was a solicitation for the township engineer at the beginning of the year. This specific project is awarded within the context of the solicitation, the appointment of ARH as the township engineer. We bring a resolution for basically this is for initiation of the bidding process and the construction services that will be attached to an award of a contract for construction of a facility at well 11 to remove radium so we can put it back into production.
You know, I think you should table it and do some research. This goes back to June 8th of 2010 when there was an administrative consent order by the state. Remember, that's the year the township had to pay a $5,000 fine on it. And I think the council should review that. They should also review the engineer's report of July 7th of 2010. And it wouldn't hurt for them to also look at January 13th of 2012 by ARH, because there was money spent at that time on the radium issue and what you could do with it, and ARH was paid for it at that time. And I think before this contract is awarded, I think you should read those 3 documents carefully with it. The other thing is, I can't see why this would be an automatic thing going to ARH. This is something that could have been bid out separately, very competitive today for this project. You don't have to be no rocket scientist for it. It's very competitive in the industry for cleaning radium up. So I think it would behoove the council to sit back and review this. And I think giving blank checks out, like this contract and the contract at the beginning of the year, if Mr. Gonzalez is correct that they already had it in their hand then, and why are you awarding it tonight? I mean, here's taxpayer money again. Dollars add up, tens of thousands add up, and right. But I think this should have gone out with an advertisement, and there's enough people out there to get plenty of competition in this area, and it should have been done. It doesn't make any sense to spend money this way. But if you get a hold of the 3 documents that I just rattled off, which I have here, you'll find out there's some serious questions of which you didn't answer. Couldn't answer them. So
I couldn't answer which. I don't even think you posed a question. You told us to go back and look at minutes from certain dates.
I asked you about it. You couldn't explain it. You explained it to the best of your knowledge that you had in front of you, which wasn't much.
I'm not Albert Einstein, so I can't remember everything in the world.
Well,
I'm sorry, I'm not
the
like
thing
him.
is, the council is responsibility for the funds of Pemberton Township. Yes, the mayor spends them, but you hold the purse strings, and it's up to you to have the responsibility to make sure that anything comes across you for approval, that you know every detail in it and every dollar being spent and how it's being. It might be correct, I don't know. I just got a hold of this in the last 48 hours when I come across it. Matter of fact, the website, you couldn't get an agenda off of it for a while, and then they said switch agenda. So they had to amend it or something. But I think it'd be very interesting to read that administrative consent order of 2010. And I'm curious if everything's been carried out on it except for cleaning up well number 11 with the radium. I'm not sure if everything's been that's another question you might want to answer or have answered to you.
Okay, Mike,
Yes.
hold on one second. You said the July 7th report.
July 7th engineer's report. It was a lengthy report, a very comprehensive report that the engineer gave July 7th of 2010.
Okay.
And then the state of New Jersey letter and administrative consent order was June 8th of 2010. And then there was something else from ARH pertaining to well 11 on January 13th of 2012. Now here it's 5 years to clean that up. Now I wonder too, how much water was pumped out of that well in 5 years?
Is well 11 an active well?
It is an active well. It's permitted by the state of New Jersey. We can use that well on emergency purposes only. We do not use that well, and we've I want to say maybe once since we've located the contamination have we turned that on, and we have to notice the residents when we do so. What Mr. Tam is referring to on his engineer report and all that information the engineers provided is what led us to where we're at today and what we're seeking your approval for. All this is asking is for ARH to now take us to the next step of the process, and that's to bid out the facility that we want to build, that we're going to be getting the loan for from the state, so that we can remove. We haven't treated any radium at this site. This site is still under the same conditions as it has been since that particular time when it was found to be contaminated. But we now want to proceed and make that a productive well again, and it is one of our highest producing wells. So we want to build a facility, and this $90,000 for ARH would be so that they can put this out to bid and that they can do the construction management on this project. It has nothing to do with the work that they did before, identifying and taking us through the process we had to go through to get state approval to be where we're at today.
What was the fee with that back then?
I couldn't
Dave,
tell you
if
off
you
the
don't
top of
read
my
off the top
head.
of your
I'd
head.
have to go
Okay.
through.
Mr. Tam, do you know the fee off the top of your head?
Pardon?
Do you know the fee off the top of your head?
The fee?
Yeah, Ms. Stinney asked about the fee. I thought maybe you would know.
At that time?
Yeah.
No, I don't.
No,
But I know at that
I was
time,
referring to Dave.
No, I know.
I
thought
think
maybe
if you
he
review
knew.
the financial records of 2010, there's an awful lot of money spent on engineering fees at that time for the water department. An awful lot of money was spent at that
Mr.
time.
Council President, if I may,
Sure.
the most recent ARH resolution from a couple of years ago was a resolution authorizing our engineers to actually design the treatment facility and to provide it to the state of New Jersey for their approval as an effective treatment facility at well 11 to deal with the issue that we have that
We
the
can
state
move
is
on.
aware, so we can move on.
Okay. So that back then was the design. I don't have the memory off the top of my head.
The council has previously approved funds for ARH to design the treatment process, the facility. That's been done. The next step in every construction project, first it's design,
Right.
then it's putting it out to bid and awarding the contract, and then it's managing the contract to ensure that the contractor performs and bills in accordance with the design plans. This is all part of a standard process that the council sees every meeting.
Okay, no problem with that. Okay, so that we may move on for the state to approve to allocate the fundings so that we can continue. Am I right with that?
The council has already, many months ago, authorized the submission
Okay.
of a loan application to NJDEP to fund the construction at this site, and the council has previously approved funds for our engineers to design the treatment facility at this site.
I
The
understand.
next step is to put the facility as designed and as approved by NJDEP
Okay.
to bid so that we can then come to council with a contract to build the facility.
I'm there. I mean, it's kind of hard sometimes when you say, you know, you want to go back to 2010, you don't have something in front of you to
Right.
kind of, I mean, you're looking at a new council member down here, you know, when you don't have something in, well, two. Well, with, you know, with two. So I'm just asking that question, and then you're looking at senior citizens, you know, where the memory, you know, don't work too well. So I'm speaking of me, okay?
Did the council get a copy of the contract?
Oh, God.
This is for the bid service agreement?
Yes.
Right.
Service agreement.
You asked that when you first came to the mic.
I'm only asking you to review it, so you know everything about this before you spend any money, and how much money is this project gonna cost?
Knowing,
That's the other thing.
knowing everyone on council, I'm willing to say that I'm sure everyone reviewed that
I
already.
did review it, I did,
Okay.
yeah.
Is there anything on what the total cost is gonna be when they end up with this project?
Not to exceed $90,000.
No.
It-
That's one step. That's another step in it.
Mr. Council President, the $90,000 is for the engineering firm. We won't know what the cost of the project will be until we put it out to bid and we get bid responses. We anticipate that it may be, give or take, around $1 million.
You know, I think you better take a good look at this whole project if you're gonna be spending $1 million on one well.
Jack?
Jack Tompkins, Pemberton Heights. Mr. Tam's questions kind of threw a couple flags for me to ask a couple questions, because I remember sitting in here when we were going through the iridium with the wells and stuff, and administration might be able to answer some of the questions for me. We're looking at doing this at well 11. I thought at one time we were talking about building a building there. Is that the one we were looking at doing a year or two ago? And we were projecting, I think, $160,000 for the building?
No.
Does that ring a bell?
No, that was, we put a building at well 12.
Okay.
Well 12 is where we put a building.
I'll fall back on Miss Denny's comment
It's a
about
well,
old age.
12, 11, you know, understandable.
So it's 12.
We're looking at the facility here, and I remember some of the other facilities where we were digging them up and putting gravel or something down into the well to kind of filter some of that. Are we doing something similar to this facility?
We've reconditioned several wells so far. We're actually in the process of reconditioning well number 2, I believe it is. Well number 2 in Lake Valley. So that's an ongoing process as wells, you know, reach a certain level point. We
But this
recondition.
this here's for well 11.
Well
Oh, I'm sorry.
11, we're doing a remediation facility. This facility will, the well itself is one of our highest producing wells in the township. It's actually our best producing well, but it has a radium issue, and we can't deliver that to the residents,
And I
obviously.
remember from previous where it's just a naturally occurring thing, so I understand that. So
Correct.
you need
It's
to get that
occurring
out.
in Bordentown right now. They're doing the same thing. They're spending over $4 million because they have to dig new wells and put in a treatment facility. We're just doing the treatment facility. Our well is in good shape, so we will use the existing well, treat the water with the facility that we will build on site, and then, deliver clean water to the residents.
So for a layman like me, it's a facility that's just a big filter.
That's exactly how I explained it to one of the council members, as a filter, like a water softener in your home, but it's a radium remover.
And this $90,000, there was one thing that kind of, another thing that popped. The $90,000, is that in our current budget right now, or are we going out for a loan, or where's that 90 grand coming from, if I can ask?
We actually have $50,000 in our current water utility budget, which is separate from the general budget, and the balance of that will come from the proceeds of a loan that we expect to get from NJDEP.
You know how I feel about loans. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Maldonado.
Terry Maldonado, Browns Mills. My question to you is the 209-2015 for Scammell Drive. Is this going to be the same construction site that's already been existing and it is a safety hazard?
I'm not sure. What do you mean, a
On
safety
Scammell
hazard?
Drive, you started construction a few months back.
Mhm.
The road is a safety hazard. In certain spots of the road, you'll see a 2-inch gap in the actual tar. Actually, I have a picture if you want to see the picture.
Okay. Administration, would you like...
Are you referring to the site that was just done?
Yes.
Saying there's 2-inch gaps?
But the road has not been paved over. There is a gap in the roadway, and it is a safety hazard. The good news is people have to slow down to cross over.
Yes,
Can
that is
I-
the same
I
project.
was just there. But that's not going to stay like
Will I
that.
lose water
right?
this time? I'm going to lose water this time? This way, I'm going to head, start out to get in the shower and have soap in my hair, and you know what I'm saying? Last time you told me I was going to get notified as a resident, and we didn't.
Thanks, Sue.
Because there's
Should
going to
be
be a
no reason
drainage
to
of
shut
some
the
sort.
water off.
Yeah, the water was shut off last time. Okay, my next question is, as a board liaison for the school system, will we have to reroute our buses?
Sorry?
Will we have to reroute our school buses?
This project is completed. There's no rerouting that's necessary.
Well, if it's completed, why do I have a 2-inch gap in the roadway?
That can't be completed.
Can
How
you
would
show
that?
that? Show him the picture.
Now, actually, in the engineering report, I remember there being something about that Scammell Drive property saying that it was 98% complete, and it was 98% complete, and there was something that still had to be done.
The roadway surfacing is going to be completed. The project itself really has to do with the drainage underneath. That is complete, and it's just a matter of the surface that needs to be completed.
Which is what your
Which is a safety
picture.
hazard.
So do we know when that will be taken care of?
I can't tell you specifically, but I believe that it is either being done now or will be done by the time that the council meets again.
I mean, it hasn't been touched in, well, I would say probably 2 months. Is a good estimate.
Yeah, that was
Like,
in
give or
the
take.
last two engineering reports about it being 98% complete. So administration said before the next meeting, which
Because
is
not
October
only is
7th.
it a fall hazard, because, like I said, there is, please, go down Scammell Drive and check it out
I've
yourself.
seen it. I've seen it.
And it's bad. There is section, and it's because it's so deep on that one section, you actually have to wait for cars to pass to come into the other lane and pass over.
We'll look into that, but I would only suspect at this point that because they disturbed the base of that roadway and had to do work underground on those pipes,
Right.
that they have a base coat in there and they're allowing that to settle. But we will look into that to find out when they are going to put in a top coat on that and finish
Being
that.
that we're into the road department business, how long does this settling process take?
This is not something that our road department is doing. This was bidded out.
So how long would our road department wait before we dealt with this issue?
I would have to ask the supervisor when he did it. I'm not the guy paving the roads. I'm not the expert on paving roads.
Neither am I, that's why I'm asking.
You're asking the wrong person, but I'll see if I can find the information for you.
All right.
Thank you.
Excuse me, 1 second. You said something about when they start back working on it, where will the buses be rerouted?
Well, that's what my question was.
Yeah.
If it's going to be an active construction. If so, we need to reroute our school buses. And he's saying that the work was already completed,
So that's not an issue, yeah.
so I'm assuming it won't be an issue now.
Right.
Okay. Well, we did have to reroute buses last year because of
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, right.
especially with the 4-year-old school.
Right.
All right, thank you.
Consent agenda. All items listed with an asterisk are considered to be routine by the Township Council and will be enacted by one motion. Should a council member wish to discuss a consent agenda item separately, that item can be removed from the consent agenda and considered in its normal sequence on the regular agenda. Council.
I request 209-2015 to be pulled from the consent agenda. I have some items that I'd like to comment on.
Are there any others? Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended?
I'll make the motion to approve the consent agenda as amended.
Is there a second?
I second to approve the consent agenda as amended.
Amy, please pull the council.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
Ms. Trueblood?
Yes.
Ms. Stinney?
Yes.
Mr. Cathers?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes. Mr. Cathers, you requested to pull 209-2015.
Yes, I did. What I'd like to discuss on that, just a moment, please. I would like to mention that there was a primary fee of $90,000, and there was a savings of $6,822.77 from the contractor. And I'd like to state that although it appears that we try to spend a lot of money, we do have consciousness in attempting to save money. Even though it's a drop in the bucket to the type of money that is being spent, there is a savings of $6,822.77. Well, the second item that I'd like to make a comment or ask a question is the fourth whereas concerning the $12,496.98 cost for the maintenance insurance. Would you please comment on that, please?
Sure. Typically in a construction project, once our engineers approve the completion of the project, they also provide advice to us and to the contractor as to the amount of a maintenance bond that would have to be put in place in order to ensure over the next 2 years that there will be funds available to make any repairs in the event something happens that relates to the workmanship on the job. So what the contractor does is the contractor, at the contractor's expense, purchases a maintenance bond. A maintenance bond is essentially an insurance policy that they get from a company usually called a surety company, a maintenance bond. So they pay for this bond, and then the company, through its insurance policy, makes available the $12,000 and change in this case to the township in the event something happens and the contractor doesn't come back to fix what he or she needs to fix.
This would satisfy the need in the event that there was damage. Once if I'm not mistaken, with the public comment, there was a interest that the road was not complete or the road was separating or something of that level. In the event that this seam is repaired, a year and a half from now, that seam begins to fracture due to inclement weather and permafrost, the contractor then is obligated to make this repair. Is that correct?
Over the next 2 years, if there is a problem with the workmanship, we would advise the contractor to come out and make the necessary repairs. And if the contractor did not, then we would make a claim against the insurance company, the surety company. In this case, I think there was a little bit of misunderstanding as to what we were talking about. The basic project was done because it had to do with work beneath the surface. What is the drainage? What is still being completed is the very small remaining surfacing and resurfacing of the street, which we expect will be done very shortly.
I hope that satisfies your question, and I thank you very much for your response. Thank you.
Is there a motion to approve resolution number 209-2015?
Forward a motion to approve resolution 209-2015. 2015.
I'll second it.
Amy, please poll the council.
Mr. Cathers?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
Ms. Trueblood?
Yes.
Ms. Stinney?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ordinance number 15-2015, bond ordinance authorizing various capital improvements and the acquisition of various capital equipment in and for the Township of Pemberton, County of Burlington, New Jersey, appropriating the sum of $1 million, therefore authorizing the issuance of general obligation bonds or bond anticipation notes of the Township of Pemberton, County of Burlington, New Jersey, in the aggregate principal amount of up to $950,000, making certain determinations and covenants, and authorizing certain related actions in connection with the foregoing. This is now open to the public. Jack Tompkins.
Good evening. Jack Tompkins again, sorry. A lot of this is going to be the same thing I said at the last time that we tried to do this. I'm all for maintaining our roads. I think it's very important. I believe that we need to have this as a line item in our annual budget instead of going out for a bond every year. I don't agree with doing this way. There is one question I had on this, and I think I know the answer, but it doesn't clearly say it in this. What's the length of this bond? Is it a 10, 20, or 30-year bond? Because it has a usefulness of the equipment, I think, at 10 and 15, if I remember reading it right. I could be wrong. 10 years. So I'm assuming the bond would be no more than 10 years? But it doesn't say it in here.
Dennis, do you have that information? I don't see it on here.
I don't believe it would be in there. The typical bonding period is about 20 years. The bonds, the bond ordinance is required to indicate the life of the various items that are to be purchased.
So we're going to be paying this bond roughly twice as long as the expected life expectancy of this equipment. The equipment's going to be around for maybe 10 years. We're going to be paying on it for 20. I wouldn't do that with a car that I was purchasing, and we're buying a dump truck with a plow, pickup truck with a plow, and it looks like a lot of open-ended other things in this that leaves a lot of question as to how we're spending this money.
And I've confirmed with administration that this equipment is equipment that is basically needed now.
I understand, Mr. Allen. I'm just thinking that this should have been budgeted, and I said it before and I'll say it again. I think this is just a political way to get around the 2% cap, so that it doesn't raise the taxes 2% and have to go to the voters at the end of the year to do that. And that's my personal opinion. $188,000 for a dump truck and a plow is what's in Section 8, and then it has open-ended spending for whatever else might be left there. I don't agree with that. The other question I have is, a lot of this is for asphalt. We all know this is fall. I have a feeling that we're only going to be able to pave for about another 60 days, and then it's going to be too cold or the weather's going to be too wet to do any paving. Are you going to be able to do all this in 60 days? Because you're not going to be able to do anything over...
Really dependent upon how the weather is.
I understand. And you're right, I don't have a crystal ball. I'm taking a kind of educated guess of living in the Northeast for quite a while. I don't think we're going to be doing anything after November. And I don't think we're going to be doing anything before April, because that's usually when the snow and everything starts drying up and going away. And we do our annual budget in March, February.
Yes.
So I think this could carry over until next year, and you can go into next year's budget, to tell you the truth. And that's my personal opinion. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Gall? Before Ms. Skull poses a question, Dennis, if this bond goes through, what is our actual plan for the asphalt, the $500,000 of asphalt?
If we have good weather in the fall and we're able to use some of that to pave a couple of the streets that were on the 2015 road repaving list that we could not get to, we will do so. In any event, the funding mechanism and the funds will be available for when the asphalt plants open up, either, could it be as early as late February or March, and everything will be in place and we'll be able to conduct the 2015 road paving program in 2016 and be able to perhaps add a few more roads as well.
Ms. Skull, yes.
I don't know, maybe I dreamt it, but didn't I stand here 2 weeks ago and ask questions about the bond and how long things would be bonded for? And was I not told by Andy that you cannot bond issues such as police cars for more than 5 years or dump trucks for more than 10? Weren't we told that's the way the bond was going to be? Didn't I say that was the big deal to begin with? And I had given council the law that states, I told you what the number was. I didn't think I needed it tonight. I would have printed out the right page and brought it about that subject, that it is part of the finance law of New Jersey. Andy agreed with me and said, well, we'll be bonding for however long the items are needed. My question has to do with, if we took police cars out, why are we still at $1 million? Shouldn't that amount come out of the bond?
That money rolled over to the asphalt.
Rolled over to additional asphalt?
It increased the
As long as it's not rolling over to whatever anybody feels like doing with the money, like putting wires underground or whatever they come up with?
Yeah, the asphalt price increased.
Anyhow, I'm just very disappointed. Again, here we said, last month we were told one thing, or this month earlier in the month, and here we go, again with the bond issue. And I have to agree, if we're going to have a road department, well, that needs to be put in the budget. If it's not done all at once and it's just added additionally each year, it shouldn't be going out for $1 million bond every year. If that we're going to pay for 20 years, I'm sorry, it's just, and we could probably rent dump trucks if we need them. We were given a list of all the excess equipment we have in the back, and now we're going to be buying more. I don't know.
Sherry, I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
No, you have a question? Go ahead.
I do. And if I'm wrong or misquoting you, I apologize. I was listening to what you said, and if I remember correctly, you were against it if we had the police trucks, the police vehicles. But once the police vehicles came off, this was okay.
As long as it wasn't for 20 years. What I had brought up was bonding and getting loans, which I was told was illegal. I went to the webpage and looked it up, and it says right on there that the finance department for the state says, no, you can't bond longer than what the equipment is used for. I know poor Andy's not sitting here, but it seems to me, unless
maybe Dave could answer it. I don't know, because I'm sorry.
Well, Dave might know.
Dennis?
If I may, perhaps I helped with the confusion. In answer to the question, I said that the bond ordinance itself does not have a term, and I said that bonds are typically 20 years. Ultimately, the bonds cannot legally be sold, and our bond council would have to determine the maximum period of this bond as they do every bond, because we are required to be in compliance with the state finance laws. So I didn't say that this bond will be issued for 20 years. That is an issue that bond council will deal with at the appropriate time as to what the appropriate and lawful length of the bond will be.
The language in this ordinance comes from the state also, correct?
Most of the language in bond ordinances is standard language that comes from state finance and bond laws, and all of the language comes from the township's bond attorney.
And as Dennis said before, the useful life is something that under bond law has to be referenced in the ordinances.
Thank you. And that's exactly what my point was. I wanted to make sure that we're not bonding for 20 years for anything that's only going to last 10.
Well, I introduced it last time, so I just wanted to, Dave, my head was turning around again, But thank you very much. Thanks, Jason, for
Right, and
recognizing
that
me.
was, it sounded very clear to me a few minutes ago we were going to be bonding for 20 years, and that's why I had said I did not, that was a problem I had. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Dave.
Dennis, quick question. Ms. Skull mentioned about bonding each year for asphalt. Do we have a plan after this bond, if it goes through, for the years in the future? Do we have some sort of plan as far as budgeting for asphalt, so we're not bonding each year? Or
Well, the difficulty with that is if the council wanted to add $500,000 a year to the budget for asphalt, that is something that we would do, but that in and of itself, plus other issues, would blow through the budget caps. And basically what you'd be adding is $500,000 to next year's budget without even considering the increases for in other costs, and including employees and pension costs and healthcare costs. So yes, that is one way to do it, but it also has implications elsewhere. One thing is, in order to exceed the 2% cap, we would have to get permission from the state. We might be able to get permission from the state, but what that means, budgeting, is that you would be increasing taxes next year for the reconstruction of 5 or 6 or 7 miles of roads, and asking all of the taxpayers next year to pay for those roads, whether the roads last for 10 or 15 or 20. The point of bonding and using loans for large-scale projects is to be able to spread out the cost over time, to be able to do more now, and to have it paid for by people who live and who pay taxes in the town over a longer period of time rather than just in 1 year. There's going to be a cost if we're going to redo the roads in the township. They're either going to be a cost annually because you add $500,000 to asphalt, or there's going to be bonding over a period of time as we try to avoid having one giant pothole here. And so either way, the township is going to have to pay for it. Either way, it is budgeted. It's either budgeted as a separate line item for asphalt, or it's budgeted in the debt service. One way, it's going to be a cost. The other way, it's going to be a cost.
Mr. Tam? Thank you, Dennis.
I have the legal notice that was in the newspaper. Did you all see it, by any chance?
The what?
The legal notice for the bond ordinance.
What about it, Mr. Tim?
Okay? It's in the newspaper on it. You read the fine print. It doesn't tell you anything. It's got lump sums here. It's not defined. And then it tells you, if you want to know the ordinance, come to the township building and get a copy of it. Now, where's the transparency in this government, which is supposed to be transparent? Here you're spending taxpayers' money And the taxpayer's going to be paying for it for the next 10, 15, maybe 20 years on it.
Is it only
And
Pemberton
it doesn't
that's
tell
like
you
that?
anything. The only thing it tells you is that there's a bond ordinance, and it's very broad. As it states, it's true. This is a summary. That's all it is, a summary. But if you want to know anything, come to the township building and get a copy. Why can't they print it? Years ago, they used to print it, and it would define what is here and the approximate cost of it. This thing is a joke. Now, even the
Mr.
copy
Tam.
that's at the door here is not defined. What is, I'm going to ask you, what's acquisition of all materials and equipment? What does it mean?
Before
Where's it defined?
that
How much?
sentence, it says acquisition of a dump truck with plow for Department of Public Works.
Yeah,
Did it
but
not say that there?
it's quite broad.
So you skipped that sentence and read,
What type dump truck? It doesn't say 5 ton. It doesn't say what type. 10 ton. It doesn't say dual axle, single axle. It doesn't define nothing. It doesn't give an inkling of what you're buying at all. You got a blank check. Or you're giving a blank check to the mayor, basically. All right.
Mr. Tam, Amy would like to say something?
All ordinances are now posted by summary in the paper to save on advertising costs, and proposed ordinances are on our website for your review. And just as in the hallway, at any time, anybody could come to my office and get a full copy of that ordinance, or they could call me and I would be more than happy to email it to them.
Fine. But even the full copy that you have at the door here, which is a full copy, if you look at it, it's a blank check, $188,000. It doesn't define anything about a dump truck. It doesn't tell you nothing. Then it says on B, you got $246,000. It says roller, pickup truck, skid steer, loader, whatever have you. They should be separately an approximate cost for each one, so the people know what they're buying and the council knows what they're approving for the taxpayers to pay for on it. You're spending
Mr. Council President, may I address this issue?
Yes.
What?
First of all, Mr. Tam doesn't understand what a bond ordinance is. A bond ordinance is a funding vehicle. It is authorization to borrow funds. It is not an authorization to spend money. And I repeat, it is not an authorization to spend money. Money is spent when administration brings to council a contract over $2,000 or a resolution to authorize a contract under a state contract or subject to public bidding on specific items which will have very specific descriptions. The council can adopt this ordinance, and when administration brings a resolution to purchase a particular truck, the council has the opportunity to say yes or no, and the money doesn't get spent. That's what the process is. Again, for Mr. Tam's purposes, this is not an authorization to spend money. The authorization to spend money comes when we bring specific resolutions to council to authorize specific expenditures.
Well, I know what a bond ordinance is, and I also know I sat on the committee for 6 years. And when I sat on the committee, before a bond ordinance was approved, we wanted to know where the money was going to go. Estimated prices were fine, but we want to know each item where the money's going.
Mr. Tam, you just said
approve the bond
estimated.
ordinance.
You just said
And then
estimated.
afterwards, you approve it to go out to bid. That's fine. But initially, everybody knows where the money's going to go. And this does not tell it. When you got, it's blank.
It does tell where it's going to go. It just doesn't satisfy your need as to the specific of the truck. It does tell us where it's going to go. It says it's going to a dump truck with a plow. It says it's going to
Sentence
various
that you
capital
skipped.
equipment, pickup truck, plow. It does
I wish
tell
I
us where
could
it's
do
going.
business with this council. I mean,
Michael,
yes, Tom.
although these are general prices, 188 for dump trucks, whether it be a tri-axle or a dual axle with tag axle or something of that level, whether it's a 36 cubic yard or if it's something smaller than that, this is given a price prior to purchasing.
I realize that.
I'm asking this question now. I'm asking this to Dennis. prior to purchasing, that particular dump truck will have all line item specifications on it. And then at that particular point, does that come back to the public again for the public to yay or nay?
When the administration is going to recommend a specific purchase of a dump truck, the council will be provided with the specifications for the product that we are recommending be purchased. We did that, previously with the other dump trucks that we purchased, and in order, if it's assuming, let's say it's a state contract, if it's a state contract, the state has specific specifications that people have bid on and a specific price for it. So the council will get specific information as to all purchases as it does now and has in the past.
Well, I'm asking because some of the stuff I'm just not exposed to in a political environment or an administrative environment as this. So I'm not asking for any other reason. I'm trying to work with Mike and with you in that environment. Prior to any purchase of any vehicle, for example, the dump trucks and or the road equipment, the line set ticket, which is everything that particular vehicle has, is given to the council. And then the council can review every item on that line set ticket to ensure that the vehicle will satisfy the needs of the township. And is that what you're looking for, Michael? Something of that level, the line set ticket for the truck?
No, I think the public should know a little more detail of what's being purchased. Like I said, they're all estimated costs that you come up with this bond issue. I know it has to go out for bid. I know it comes back to the council for approval. But the point is, you want to know a little more detail so you got a better idea. You're spending money. Every dollar counts. And now the question I would ask if I was sitting up there, is this an additional dump truck or is this one replacing one? Who knows? This is the type of question that you should be asking.
I think that's already been answered, hasn't it?
The question has been asked and answered several times in this room. It is an additional truck.
Okay. The second question I'd follow up is how many truck drivers do you have, qualified truck drivers do you have for these trucks?
Well, they're air brake systems, so they have CDLs. Most of you men have CDLs. All of them have CDLs to operate that.
We have more than enough drivers with CDLs to operate this truck.
Are they classified drivers or just anybody driving them with a CDL?
A CDL.
I know a CDL.
You know a CDL, and I know a CDL, and
I've had it.
They're not just going to put anybody on those trucks with a CDL. They must have a CDL. They pass a federal and a state process for that CDL.
Don't you have job titles for classified drivers?
That would be something I'm not aware of at this particular point in my tenure.
And
the titles are truck driver.
Truck driver.
The title is truck driver.
How many you got?
I don't know. I don't know off the top of my head, but we have more than enough to meet our needs with this truck.
Classified as truck drivers.
That's what I just indicated. We have truck drivers. We also have some laborers who may have CDLs.
But that don't mean they're truck drivers.
Yes, it does.
If they're on the civil service, they should be classified as such.
Well, we can handle the human resources stuff, Mr. Tan.
I feel that, Michael, as I said, I'm new in this. My tenure is approximately, 2 weeks. I feel that with the CDL, and with my experience with CDLs, if one has a CDL, they are truck drivers. Now,
I understand.
Now, how that's going to reflect in the environment of our township, that's going to be something a little bit different. Their qualifications, sure, anybody who gets behind the wheel is going to be qualified to handle it, especially if it's going to be a plow or something with a triaxle.
But there are also job titles, Tom, and I think township should follow job titles for the individuals. I don't think a labor classified as a laborer should be driving.
I think that, I feel, Michael, these are good issues. These are great issues, but is that really focusing on where we are going with this bond at this point?
Absolutely
No, and I can answer that real quick if you'd like. When we have individuals that periodically, but not often, work out of job title. And that's a permissible thing to do in civil service. But when they do work out of job title, we compensate them at the higher rate when they're working out of title. And that's done periodically here.
Mr. Tam, do you have any more questions about this particular bond ordinance?
Pardon?
Do you have any more questions
No.
about this particular bond ordinance?
Thank you, Michael.
Mr. Tam, Can I see the paper that you had really fast? Okay, thank you.
It should tell more to be more transparent to the public.